The purpose of this video is to go over some of the issues involved with formatting, primarily graphs and tables in Excel, and then using them in Word. And I might mention a couple other formatting issues as we go. We're going to begin with some data shown in this Excel spreadsheet, and I'm going to start by graphing it. I'm going to graph, let's say, just these first two columns. I can go to Insert, Scatter Plot, and I will just graph it like this. And let's say I want to add a trend line on here, so I'm going to click on the data and right-click is one way to do it. Go to Add Trend Line. Come over here, and it's a linear trend line. I will display the equation and display the r-squared value. And I'll click the X button to get rid of that. If I want to format this for a report, there's really no need to have a title because you're going to have a caption that includes that information. So I just clicked on it and then hit the delete button. Another option is up here on the top left. There's this add chart element, and this is all under chart design. So chart design, add chart element. If I click on it, you have all these different pieces that go into basically making a graph. So that, for example, that chart title is here. So if I wanted to put it back, I could put it above the chart and then remove it as well. So now we want to put titles with our axes. So axis titles, I'm going to click on primary horizontal, and that adds a title here on the horizontal axis. And then I'm also going to add a primary vertical. So now I would have to go in here and type in something so I can highlight everything there. So let's say that this is time. So I would typically write what it is, time, and I'll put the units in parentheses as seconds. Let's say this over here happens to be the position. I might say position in centimeters. Another thing you can do, and we don't really have a set format for this, but maybe I'll write the symbol position X, just like I could do time, comma, T. I could potentially also just write T for time and X for position. In a report, you will have defined what those variables are. So another thing we want to do is I'm going to move this trend line equation over so it's a little bit in a more open area. Excel always replaces or always uses the same variables. It always uses X and Y. Now in this case, our vertical axis, our Y-axis is really X. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to change that to the letter X. And what they're calling the X-axis is really the symbol T. So I'm going to change that to the letter T. Now let's say I also don't like the fact that they have 4 significant figures here. I think maybe 3 significant figures is sufficient. So 0.4077, that would round to 0.408. So I can just change that to 0.408. And 0.7306, I can change that to 0.731. And if I wanted to, I could even put a space and maybe I type cm for centimeters. So now I'm saying the equation says it's 0.408t plus 0.731 centimeters. And if you wanted to, you could even go in here and put parentheses like that. You can change the r-squared value. Maybe you say, I'm just going to go with 3 significant figures as well. Based on how this looks, you can also change the font size. So if I select this, this window comes up that has different font information. I can also go to Home, and you'll see there's a font style and a font size. So maybe I'm going to change that to a size of 11, make it a little bit easier to read. And then I'm going to shift it over so it's kind of a little nicer place. And maybe on the axes, I'll make those size 12, and I'll make them bold by clicking the B button for bold, B, change it to size 12. Makes it a little bit easier to see. Another thing I can do, we have these numbers here. So if I right-click on these, I can format the axis. So if I click on Format Axis, I can change the bounds. So maybe I want this to go between 0 and 20 for some reason. So I can change that number. I don't think I'd actually want it to do this, but sometimes you want to adjust this slightly. Maybe I'll say I'm going to go from 0 to 12. I don't know why I'd want to do that, but let's say I do that. Maybe I'll move this up. The other thing I can do with this is I can change the number, meaning the formatting for that. So if I click on number, I can go down here, for example, and change the number of decimal places. So maybe I just say I don't want decimal places because I don't like how that looks. Anyway, I'm just showing different options here. So now I have this this graph, and I can bring it over into Word. So if I simply select it, so I'm going to copy this over now to Word. So I'm going to right click and select copy. And then I'm going to open a Word document. So here's a blank Word document. And let me just head down here a little bit, and I'm going to now paste this. So go to paste options. I can just choose the first option here, and there it's pasted. Now, it's also typical to center images and tables. So if I go up here to paragraph and click center, it centers it. You also notice that in Excel, it actually creates an outline here. So that actually, if I select this here, I think I can go to chart options, and there is a border, and now it's set to automatic, and I can put no line, and now that border disappears. Now a figure should have a caption, and the caption is located underneath the figure. So maybe this is figure number 3, and I would want to write a caption for this. So I can say position of the cart X as a function of time T from experiment 2. Something like that. I write a caption. Now, I'm going to go back to Excel here. I'm going to look at a table really quickly. So let's say I wanted to put all of this information into a table. I could actually select all of it, highlight it. I can right click and copy. I can go over to Word, and maybe I could scroll down a little bit, and now I can paste it. Here it puts it in. Now, if I highlight all of this, I'm in a table. We typically want to have some sort of borders. So if you go up to paragraph, there are these border options. So if I do outside or all borders, typically click something like all borders. If I select this table and then I go up here to center, I now center the table, and I want to write a caption for the table above the table. So I would say something like, this is maybe table number 2, and this is positions from experiments 1 and 2 as a function of time. Now you can actually modify these things. So maybe this first column is actually time, so I can say time, and maybe I put the units underneath like that. This column here is, let's say it's going to be position 1, so I can say x1 in centimeters, and this is position 2, units of centimeters. And I'm going to make this look like a subscript by selecting the number 1, going up here to font. In one option, there's this little subscript button, so I click that and I do x sub 1 and x sub 2. Now, another option in Excel, I also could put borders, and there's up here in the font section, there's also the option for borders, so I could select that in Excel. And now if I were to copy this and put it back over here, so I'm going to come back to Word, and I'm going to paste in the table that I just copied, and now you see it comes in with the border already. I can select it, center it, provide a caption. This is now table 3, another table. That's not a very good caption there, by the way. Another thing is it's not good practice to split a table across a page like this. If you really have to do that, you want to put another heading here. My preference is that you just scroll down in this case, let's say, to make enough space. So if I or hit return, and now I can just put it all on one page. That would be one option. You can use a page break as well, and that way the table is all on a single page. A final few comments about formatting in Word for a report, just to be aware of. Again, you can have these different centering types of options. So if I wanted to put a title of a section, let's say abstract, I can center that. I can bold it if I'd like. Go back, type my text in here, type my text. Realize that's still bold, so remove that. There's another video that deals with the equation editor. There are, under Insert, there's also, which is where the equation editor is used. There's also a symbol section, so there are common symbols that show up there. Although I showed this earlier, I want to show a superscript example. So let's say I want to say here that time 1 is equal to 10 to the minus 2 seconds. So I write T1 equals 10 minus 2 space S. So if I go to the 1 and highlight it, I can go up here to Subscript under Font. And if I highlight the -2, I can put that as a superscript. So it looks like T1 equals 10 to the minus 2 seconds. A final formatting issue that will be helpful is the use of page numbers. Depending on the requirements, you might want to put page numbers on top or the bottom of a page, so that's called a header or a footer. If you go into the top part of Word, one of the ways to access the header is if you simply double-click. It shows up as the header, and there's a header and footer option here. And then you can click page number, and you can put it at the top of the page, bottom of the page, wherever you want to put it. So if I want to put it, let's say, top of the page on the right, I just click there, and then you have to close header and footer, and that page number shows up there. So there's all those different options depending on what the actual requirements are.